One of the things that I really enjoyed about this episode overall is the fact that we show this mining camp and how horrible conditions, how you have these slaves and how there's this aspect to how far Nerva would go to, and the idea, and also show visually what they're fighting against. And to me, I think it was a very strong point of this episode.
Easy.
This episode really functions to take, two of our really key characters, Helena and Alasie, and separate them from our demonstrably very capable warriors.
Guards! I found this one trying to escape.
When Helena and Alasie find themselves, the group has agreed to their plan. This is their turn to sort of prove that they can be competent members of the team, and they immediately screw it up. That their book learning and legends that they were raised on may not in fact be as accurate as they were hoping. And so I think that it really teaches, Helena in particular, that just because she has this knowledge from the future world does not mean that she is any more capable of withstanding the threats of the past.
Did this work better in your movie?
When Helena and Yin first met, and they made it through the trial of the caves and finally emerged, and they decided that we're going to be friends, and also we're going to work together to fight against Nerva. Yin had warned Helena that, hey, if you join this fight, you might have to get your hands a little dirty. And now that Helena's seen Annika die in her arms and certainly has the motivation and energy to fight, Yin is still cautioning her, warning her that, hey, this isn't the way it is in the movies. This isn't the way it is in books that you've read. This is going to get very serious, and it's going to take a toll. And Yin knows the cost of that. That's something that we'll learn as we get to know Yin a little bit better through her backstory. But Yin is speaking from a place, ultimately, of experience.
Helena? Alasie!
With Alasie, it was, showing her ability to help these slaves break free. And again, just showing that she's coming into her own, becoming her own person, but a hero in her own right. And again, showing to John that she is an important member of the community there and can help. And she doesn't need to be sheltered by John. He needs to let her go a little and become her own.
Use this to break every lock on the prisoners' holding cells. Anyone in chains, let them go.
Got it. What about you?
I'm going to the drawbridge.
Hello again, little killer.
I think, again, one of my favorite parts, it's always going to be these big action scenes where we have the gladiatrix and Helena having this one-on-one fight during the freeing of the slaves. That sequence had a lot of choreography planned for it, but we needed to show Helena, even though gladiatrix is stronger than her and getting the better of her, it's still Helena is able to use her smarts in order to get out of a lot of the predicaments she gets into and during this fight, and able to actually take a punch and stand up for herself.
I needed a new dwarf jester, and for that, I'll leave you your tongue!
So there was this very peculiar echelon of women in the time after Augustus who came from, prominent and prosperous families and voluntarily decided to sneak out by night, more or less, and compete as gladiators. And so the gladiatrix takes this to an obscene extreme, where she cares so much for her own liberation that she does not care how many throats she has to cut and if they're innocent or guilty. She enjoys her power. She's a more feral version of Nerva in a lot of ways, because even he is trying to do his duty and return to Rome.
Whenever we do any kind of fight choreography in ARK, we always look at the kind of power dynamics. What dinosaurs are in it, right? And I think that's one of the fun parts that people love about ARK is the idea is that you're mixing and matching, like who's more powerful, a Tyrannosaurus Rex or a Stegosaurus or a Triceratops. And I think we're reliving our fantasy as kids playing with these dinosaurs.
I'd say the biggest obstacle for this fight scene was dealing with the scale. We have the Yudi and the T-Rex and then these two giant creatures, but we still have people on top and we want to get their emotions across. So kind of the staging of the camera work and keeping the scale of these creatures was a challenge, because we do want the camera to be low and looking up at these behemoths, but at the same time we still got to be able to see the characters emote to keep the action and the stakes high.
We're working off the script that had, descriptions of locations in the camp, but now we had to figure out in a kind of an overhead map where everything is. And I think that's one of the hardest things, is figuring out like where the stampede comes in, where do they go, where does the fight take place between Mayin and Gladiatrix, where exactly is the entrance to the caves, and where do they come out. And these are all things that we did early on, once we got the first draft of the script and we started mapping out. We just started, figuring out with the director where each of these locations are, and then, of course, drawing those out.
Helena, take the shot!
Please.
There's a very key thing that we wanted the audience to see, where those warnings that Mayin has given Helena about doing what is necessary to protect the innocent, that it all comes together in the form of seeing this soldier who's been a part of this brutality, this tyranny. He's certainly culpable morally, but it's a little bit more gray to see him retreating.
And Helena has to use her bow to really take this person out, to kill a human being. And she's torn with that. And as she watches him, she's seeing these other people that she has met on the ARK that have died. And she can't do it.
And that's a choice that she makes. It's not just the fact that maybe that she felt she couldn't. She made a choice not to. And that's obviously going to set up a lot of conflict with her and Mayin, and it will also have some ramifications further on in the season.